Hey everybody, welcome back to Knitting Butterflies. This is Emily, and welcome to the Knitting Butterflies podcast. This is an audio and video podcast mostly about knitting and spinning and photography and life, and I hope that you're doing well. This is episode 45, I believe, somewhere in there, maybe 46. I'm not really sure, but I hope you all are doing well. Today is February 7th, 2016. This is episode, well, I already said that, episode 45. It's Super Bowl Sunday, and my team is in the Super Bowl this afternoon. What? How exciting is that? I'm so excited about that. So, I left some of my knitting back there. Oops. Okay. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. Thank you for joining. If you are a returning viewer or listener, thanks for coming back. This is an audio and a video podcast, so I record both the video and I record the audio, and I post both of them. So some people prefer to listen just to the audio in their car and they prefer the smaller file sizes. Some people like to see everything I'm talking about and they do the video. So you're welcome to do either or both or whatever works well for you. It is a lovely day outside. Like I said, it's Super Bowl Sunday. My whole area is just covered in blue and orange, everything right now. It's crazy and I'm so excited. My friend Michelle from the Actually Knitting podcast lives in North Carolina, and she and I are so funny because neither one of us has been super huge football fans up until this point, but this year was like the year for our team to do awesome. And so we both kind of jumped on the bandwagons, and now we have a little friendly wager going on, which I'll tell you about in just a little bit, but I'm really excited for the Super Bowl to be here. So lots of we have some unhealthy food planned, but we have some healthy food planned too, which is really good. I'm not normally a healthy eater, but we were like, we probably should at least have some grapes out or something. We'll be heading over to my parents' house later this afternoon, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Things that have been going on for us, not really a whole lot. I did start my new job, and yeah, that's kind of it. So we've been kind of figuring out how that all works, like with childcare and with sick kids and with like all that stuff, because I haven't been part of the workforce in so long. It's been 8 years since I've worked for somebody else. And so it's taken us a while to get used to how do we work around that. So it's interesting for sure, but I do have a ton of knitting to show you guys. Like a bunch of it because it's been so long, and I have a book recommendation, we have a giveaway we need to do, I have some cool photography talk, so we might as well jump right in. So if you are watching, you probably noticed that I'm wearing my first finished object today. This is the Water and Stone cardigan, and this is by Vera Valimaki, and I knit mine out of One Twisted Tree. This is Danny from the Prairie Girls, her Lavish Base, which is her superwash merino sport weight, and in the colorway Hinky Punk. And I am totally in love with this sweater. I have been wanting to finish this so badly because I needed to finish a Blitz project for the Down Cellar Studio Pigskin Party, which is hosted by Boston Jen of the Down Cellar Studio podcast. And I had another Blitz project earlier in the season, and now this is my second Blitz project for the season. So I totally love this. The yarn itself is purples and grays. Inside it reads more purple, outside it reads more gray, and it completely matches everything in my wardrobe because I love those colors. I think this is my 4th or 5th purpley gray sweater that I have knit or that I have in my closet, and I just love it. So I think this will be my last purpley gray sweater, but I'm glad that I have this one. I didn't have a long sleeved one. So this sweater is long sleeved. It's an open front cardigan, and I hope the video didn't freeze, I'm sorry. And it has an asymmetrical cabling pattern. So the cabling pattern goes down one side of the neckband. I'll stand up so you can see it a little bit better as I move my chair out of the way. So it has, the cabling pattern goes down one side of the neckband, and then it goes inside, not under the armpit, but kind of near that area. And then there's another one that's on the back. And this goes down to, it goes down below the widest part of my hips. So it's like a nice It's a perfect length. It's a good fit. And I love to wear, I found this drapey white top at Target and I just love it. And I love the way that this sweater fits. There are a few modifications that I made to this particular sweater. So it's a natural fit. It's not too tight. It's not too tight next to the skin. I have tried wearing something underneath it and it didn't work great. So I just wear it with a tank top underneath and it's totally fine, which will be perfect for spring and for stitches and things like that I can wear it and not be roasting hot. But the modifications that I made to this are the beginning. So the way that you knit this sweater is you cast on for the back of the neck and then you knit down one side and then you pick up your stitches and then you knit down the other side of the neckband. And the pattern has you just do a regular cast on. I did a Judy's Magic cast on. A lot of people in Ravelry said that they did that. And then I did an I-cord edge instead of a slip stitch edge. And I really like not only the way that it looks, I like it a lot better than the slip stitch edge, because I would say it took me 5 or 6 times casting this sweater on to get it done right. But I like the structure that the I-cord edge. It gives it just a little bit more finishing is what I would say. Like, it feels more stable. It looks more stable. It looks a lot nicer. And then the last big modification that I did was I originally got gauge with this yarn. The pattern calls for a sport weight yarn, and I got gauge and I hated the fabric that it made because it was too open. And I think if you look at the gauge that it calls for, I feel like it's too open for a sport weight. I feel like a DK, even a worsted, would suit that particular gauge better. So I had to do the math and figure out which size I wanted to make and then adjust the pattern as needed for that. If you are watching on the video too, you also probably noticed this big white spot on my shoulder here. There's one part where you're increasing the raglan that's right on the cable and it left an open hole right here. So I need to go back and fix that too, and just with some duplicate stitch underneath to close it nice up and nice and tight. But overall, I love the way this cardigan knits up. It was really potato chippy to knit. I need to pop the sweater back into the dryer, so it has been blocked. Which is why everything lays nice and flat, but the sleeves got a little bit long because it's superwash and so it grows. So I just need to pop it in the dryer so I can go and just like suck back up and look really nice like that. So I finished that at knit night on Thursday night and I was really excited about it, and I wanted to start with this because that's what I'm currently wearing. I think it might look nice with a closure of some kind, like a shawl pin right under the bust or something, but it also looks pretty open front as well, and I think it's going to be a great addition to my wardrobe. I can already see myself wearing this thing all the time, especially in the spring when it's still cool but not quite cold enough to need like a nice super warm sweater, but it's very warm though at the same time. So this is like a super welcome addition to my wardrobe. My mom was like, I would like one of those too, but she doesn't want it to be asymmetrical. So if I knit it again for her, I would knit the cable pattern down both sides of the collar. I would leave the bust and that area all stockinette instead of having the cable on the one side. And then the back, the cable would be right in the middle of the back instead of off to one side. So, and I know that several people in Ravelry have done that. So if that interests you, there are a lot of really good notes out there for that. I have another finished object to show you. I finished my January socks. I talked about on the last episode that I'm doing the brown bag challenge for my sock knitting for 2016. So I took 12 skeins of yarn that I love and set them aside specifically to make socks. And a couple of them I have set aside for very specific knit-alongs, January and February, and then the rest of them are in brown bags, and I'll just pick a random bag and knit that pair of socks that month. So my January socks are done. These are knit out of some hand-spun. This is my first pair of hand-spun socks, and I'm so thrilled with how they turned out because I feel like they turned out just beautiful. So this is knit out of some hand-spun that I spun out of some Sun Valley Fiber BFL, Superwash BFL, I think is what it is. I don't know if it has nylon. I'll need to double check, but the colorway is called Boundary Waters, and it is olive greens and lighter olive greens and some cream and then blues and turquoise and charcoals. and it looks amazing. I spun mine into some really long repeats using a chain ply. I didn't split the braid at all. I just spun directly from the braid and then chain plied it. So I have these super long color repeats. It almost is like a gradient effect. I did a vanilla sock. I always do a tubular cast on cuff down with a heel flap and gusset, and a Kitchener toe is just how I do my vanilla socks. I didn't want to do any patterning on this because I just wanted to see exactly what the hand spun looked like by itself. And so there's a little bit of texture, but I'm super proud of myself because it's very even, especially for just learning how to spin a little bit over a year ago. I got my wheel for Christmas in 2014. So I'm very pleased with how these turned out. So that is my first pair of hand spun socks. I have tried them on. I haven't worn them for a day. They are super warm. And I had plenty of yarn left, which was really exciting for me. I was a little bit nervous that I would run out of yarn. It wasn't a problem at all. I had plenty left. So I'm going to be able to do some square, or at least one square on my sock yarn blanket when I find it because it's missing. And then I'll be able to give away some mini skeins of it too. So that pair of socks is done. Oh, these sock blockers are from the Loopy U as well, which were gifted to me by a lovely friend. You know who you are. Thank you. So that's that pair of socks done. Another finished object, since we're going through finished objects. This is a cowl that I knit. I showed the start of it for you last episode. This was my treat yourself knitting. If you watch In a Snit with Christy, she's doing a treat yourself cowl. And basically it's just knit something that is for you, that makes you insanely happy, and that's a treat to yourself. And so this was the knitting where I had this, my husband bought me the kit from the Loopy U for Christmas, and I knew I needed to knit a bunch of stuff. I needed to work on my socks, and I needed to get this sweater done, and I needed to get mittens done for my kids. And I was like, we all need these things that are missing, and we need to be able to have them and stuff. And I was like, I want to start a new project. So that was what I did. This cowl is about 3 feet wide and then doubled over because it's a cowl. So it's really, really long for a cowl. I knit the pattern, the colors. So it's for the audio listeners. So the colors that this comes in are light gray, medium gray, charcoal, dark purple, light blue, dark turquoisey blue, and light brown and dark brown. So there's 9 different colors that are in this cowl. My husband bought the kit for me from the Loopy U and it's one of their paint box palettes that they sell. And the palette is called Winter. And they have winter, summer, spring, and fall, and each of those comes with 9 15-gram balls of yarn, and then it comes with 2 patterns as well. So one of the patterns that it comes with is called Sound Wave, which is what I based this on, but then I used the construction of the pattern of the foolproof cowl, in that I started with the triangle, so it starts like a shawl, and then you knit one side until you get to where you want to stop, and then you knit the other side until you want to stop, and then it makes a triangle, and then you finish off by knitting a triangle at the end. My decreases look terrible because I didn't use stitch markers and I was too lazy to fix it. Oh well. So I don't really care. It doesn't show when I wear it, and so I leave it alone. But when I wear it, it's long enough that I can literally wrap it around my neck 3 times. I don't know that I'll be able to successfully do that right now because I have a headset on and I don't want to mess up your audio. I said I wasn't going to, and then I did. But it will wrap around my neck 3 times. The colors are all colors that I wear in my wardrobe regularly, so I actually get a lot of wear out of this cowl because it matches a ton of my wardrobe already, which makes me super happy. Again, there's that purple and the gray. It's my favorite colors, and the turquoise, the teal. It's totally my thing. So it was an excellent Christmas present. I love it. I used a similar striping progression to what they use in the Sound Wave pattern, a little bit different. I did mine based on weight and some things didn't quite work out how I had hoped, and so I had to change, but overall I think it looks really cool. It's just got some cool elements to it, with thin stripes and thick stripes and color blocking, and it was really fun to play with. So I love that finished project. So that one is all done as well. I have a few more finished projects to show you. My kids needed mittens really badly. We have had a lot of snow this year, and normally Colorado, when it snows here, it snows, and then the snow is gone in like 3 days because it gets so warm again. Well, this is the first year that we had really long cold snaps, and a lot of the snow is still here that fell in December, which is really, really unusual for us. So my kids go out to the park all the time and they play, and my kids needed mittens because the mittens that we had are the acrylic mittens from like the dollar section of the store, and those get wet and cold really fast. And I was just like, my kids need some wool mittens. We have not really had the pleasure of trying them, so I figured I would start with the little guys and then move up from there. So I started with my youngest. I made him some mittens. All of the mittens that I'm going to show you, I used the pattern Waiting for Winter Mittens by Susan B. Anderson. This is the child size because my son is 2. And then the yarn that I used is Brown Sheep Company Lanaloft Worsted, which I had a bunch of in my stash from when I visited their second shop with my friend Joanna. So this is in a lime green color. I think it's called Twist of Lime is the name of it. And it's super cute. These are really soft, and my son loves them. I have plans to put a cord in between the two that goes into the arms of his jacket so that he doesn't lose them because he's 2.5. And the second he gets somewhere that it's not cold, like he wants to wear his mittens outside, and then the second he gets in the car or in the house, they just get thrown anywhere. So when I clean out my car, I often find like 10 mittens laying around. That's a really common thing to find because he does it and his brother and sisters do it too, and it just drives me nuts. So I figure that putting that cord in between will solve that problem. I just haven't done it yet, but he has worn them. They didn't stay quite as dry as I had hoped. The snow that we had that day was pretty wet, so they did get wet, but they also dried overnight really well. And I kept asking him, how are your hands? Are they warm? How are your hands? Are they warm? And he said, yes, Mommy, they're warm. Yes, Mommy. And so he seemed to really like them, and he wants to keep wearing them. So I finished his mittens, and then I started my younger daughter's mittens. I did one pink one for her so far. Again, Brown Sheep Company Lanaloft Worsted. I asked her what color mittens she wanted, and she said, I want a pink mitten with purple hearts and a purple mitten with pink hearts. Okay, I have pink and purple in my stash. So the pink mitten is done. I do not have hearts on it yet. I plan on duplicate stitching hearts on it sometime. Well, today, actually. I need to have it done today, probably. But I don't know how to do that. So I'll have to watch some videos to learn how to do that. So the pink one is done. And then the purple one I can show you is done. I have the cuff and the hand knit, and then I just need to do the decrease on the hand and then the thumb. And then that one will be done as well. So hers are on their way. We'll see. That duplicate stitching kind of stresses me out and makes me not as motivated to get it done. So I have another pair of mittens that I have done for me, and one of these has the ends woven in, so I'll show that to you first. These are some mittens that I knit for myself because I do have one pair of knit mittens for me actually, but I wanted another one. And so I knit these out of some hand-spun that I did, which was some fiber from Hip Strings, which you can find on hipstrings.etsy.com. But I'm not going to lie, I really didn't care for the way that this spun at all. I think it's because I don't personally have the spinning technique down to spin the fiber the way that it needed to be spun. It was long roving where all of the colors like followed along together at the same time, but the colors were also really, 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 really blended together. And so the fiber was such beautiful. It was jewel tones. It was blues and purples and greens and pinks when it was roving, and then it all kind of turned brown when I spun it. And I know it's because of me and not because of the fiber necessarily. I don't know. I need to take a spinning class on spinning fiber like that because that was a little bit ridiculous. But like I said, this would need the ends woven in. But you can kind of see it's kind of like a speckled yarn. It's got pops of green and pops of purple and pops of pink and blue. And like you can see them, but from a distance, they just look kind of brown. They're really pretty up close, kind of. When you mix pink and green together, it just makes brown all the time. So I haven't quite decided. But I thought that this would be a good use for this hand spun. The hand spun itself is very thin. It's like a fingering weight. So I held it double to knit it and so that would be a worsted weight. So it would work. So again, that is the Waiting for Winter pattern by Susan B. Anderson, which is lovely. And I have it memorized now. And I feel like I can knit all of the mittens using that pattern. So I have one more finished object. I know I got a lot done, but the pigskin party was a very good motivator. Here it is. Okay. So my last finished object that I have to show you is for the Broncos. This is the craziest thing that I think I have ever knit in my whole life. This is the Excuse Me hat by Stephen West. And I knit this out of some Lemonade Shop yarn in the colorway Omaha. She released it specifically for the Super Bowl. She released it right after the Broncos won the AFC Championship against the Patriots. And so I, of course, had to buy it. The colorway is called Omaha. Omaha! Peyton Manning. And, of course, I had to buy it. I couldn't not buy it. So I got it in and I was like, oh, I'm going to knit a Broncos hat out of it and it's going to be great. And I started knitting it into a hat with just the yarn by itself, and it was not working. I really hated how it looked in ribbing. I know that some people really, really, really love the way that heavily contrasted variegated yarn looks when it's just crazy. And I either want it to pool for sure or be completely variegated and nothing in between. And this was kind of in the in-between thing, and I didn't like it at all. So I was like, I need to find a contrast yarn and a different pattern that I can knit this with. And I pulled out some Knit Picks Superwash Sport, which I was kind of sad to do that with such nice yarn, but it was fine. It worked out just fine. And that's in a dark gray color. And I used that for my contrast. And I had to learn brioche because I have never done brioche knitting before. It's hard, but it's not hard. How do I talk about this? So I tried watching YouTube videos. I saw this hat on the Fat Squirrel, and she was like, oh, just pull up some videos on YouTube and you can totally learn it. I tried reading the pattern, and it blew my mind because there's all this new terminology. What is bark and burp and like all these different things that you can do, and I was all confused. So then I watched YouTube videos, and I was still really confused because I couldn't find any videos that show you how to do the setup row, which is what I was really struggling with in this hat because the setup row includes increases and decreases. I was like, oh my gosh, this is just nuts. And I was a little bit like, So I went on to Craftsy and I bought the class Explorations in Brioche Knitting by Nancy Marchant. And that is an excellent class if you want to learn about brioche. I watched almost the whole class start to finish in one evening. And I didn't make it through. I watched the generalization, like what's the way that brioche knitting works, how does it work, how is it set up, things like that. I watched the single brioche knitting, I watched the double brioche knitting, and then I did not make it to the mistakes fixing part of the class, which is why I have mistakes in my hat and I didn't fix them. But before that class, it took me like 6 times to cast this hat on. It was just, granted, I decided at 10 o'clock at night, I'm going to learn brioche, which is not a good choice. Just so you know, that's a terrible choice. So, at 12:30, I was like, forget this, I'm going to bed. And that was after I'd watched the class. I watched it one more time the next morning, and then I tried it again, and I got it the second time. This hat is knit in the round, which getting that first row done in the round in brioche is kind of tricky to not twist because I kept twisting the yarn. It was something else. But once I got going, it was really easy. Like I said, I did make a few mistakes. There are some spots where where there's definitely like a piece of yarn that's not where it's supposed to be. You can't even see it on here. I can see it. There you go. Now you can see it. You can see it better on the back. My gauge needed some help for sure, especially in the beginning. So where the increases are in the beginning, my gauge is super wonky and there's lots of holes in it and stuff. But I figured this is my first brioche project ever. This hat is so crazy that nobody's going to be looking at my gauge. It's my hope. So when you put it on, it has this cute little ear flap. I'm going to put this on and hopefully not mess up the mic. Ha, I'm even wearing it over earphones. Which just makes it look ridiculous. It's a slouchy hat. I didn't even knit it as long as Stephen West says to knit it. And it's like crazy slouchy. And then I made this epic pom-pom to put on the top of it. I had about 50 grams of the yarn left over of the Omaha color. And I took every last bit of it and made the most epic pom-pom ever for the top of it. I used the Clover pom-pom maker. So it's just this crazy brioche hat. The orange and blue looks like it's stripes, but it's actually swirled just because of the way that it pooled. I felt like this was the perfect marriage of yarn and pattern and everything. I love how it turned out. The wager that I have with Michelle from Actually Knitting, so she knit herself a Panthers hat, and I knit myself a Broncos hat, and I said, here's the wager. I was like, whoever's team loses, that person has to wear the other person's hat when we go to Rhinebeck in October. She was like, you're totally on. So, Michelle, I finished your hat. Ha. Anyway, so I think it's super cute. My son saw it, grabbed it, wore it all day at church. That was before it had the pom-pom on it. Oh, and the other thing that I did was I had some white Knit Picks Wool of the Andes Superwash, and I just crocheted an edge around because my start was so and wonky and it looked awful, so it needed some finishing. So I just did a quick crochet, single crochet around the edge. I did it really loose because brioche is a very loose stitch, so I did it loose enough that you can still get it over your head, but it at least gives some structure to the stitches because they're so stretchy. But it's super squishy and it's crazy, and I think it's perfect for somebody like a football fan. So that is that's my crazy excuse me hat. I have one more project. So my plan is today, with the pigskin party, I need to finish that mitten. I need to finish a hat for my friend, which I'm not going to talk about today. And then I literally have all of my work in projects done for the pigskin party. I have one more work in progress right now that I was not planning on finishing before the end of the pigskin party. But I did want to start it. So I talked about my January socks being all done. I had my skein picked out for my February socks, and I went ahead and started them because I had a day where I just needed to knit something super easy. This is a pair of zigzagular socks by Susie White, and the yarn is Lemonade Shop Stormy Day, which is a gray. It's mostly gray with little rainbow pops in it, which is, and it's like neon rainbow, so pink and yellow and blue and green and purple neon, and it's super cute. And the zigzagular pattern is my favorite pattern to knit for socks because I know exactly how many stitches or how many repeats I need to make the cuff that I like and the foot length that I like. I'm going to have to change that count a little bit because these socks are going to my sister. I bought this yarn during the Yarn Along the Rockies yarn crawl in the Denver area, and I bought it at Fancy Tiger Crafts because it was the first time I had seen it in person, and of course you have to buy it because it always sells out online, and I do really like it. In the skein I was like, I like it, but it's just not really me. Like I like gray. Rainbows aren't really my thing. I have nothing against them. It's just not really my cup of tea. I like to focus on one or two colors instead of all of them. So I showed it to my sister, and she was like, well, I really like it a lot. And she's like, I don't have any hand knit socks from you, and I really like that zigzag pattern that you do. So can you knit me some socks? So these socks are going to her, which I thought was an excellent use of the yarn. It's funny though, because as I've been knitting it, I really want to keep them. But they are going to her because I promised they would. So I might have to get another skein and keep it for myself. So I have the cuff done, and I've started the heel flap for the first sock. And then I keep this in a little firefly bag. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. That is from Happy Stitcher Designs, who is Kristen. She sent me this, and it's super cute. She does a good job on her bags. So I just keep that caked up in there, and it's really fun. I am doing this for the Rainbow Along with the Suburban Stitcher, and it's lovely. So that is all of my knitting that I have going right now. It's 30 minutes in, and I have talked about knitting for 30 minutes. Holy cow, that's crazy. So we might as well go ahead and move on. Okay, so we have some events coming up really soon. Oh my gosh, I always forget to do this. I have some thank yous I need to send out to you. I can't believe I always forget to do this. And I even have my little notes. So I wanted to thank Sarah Stevens of the O Loops podcast. Sarah is a good friend of mine. She is such a doll. And she has designed a new pattern called the 74. And it's a beautiful, beautiful shawl pattern. Definitely check it out. And she's having a knit along for it. And she gifted the pattern to me. So I'm going to have to check that out and see what I have in my stash that would work for it. But super check it out. She's adorable. She is one half of the O Loops Fiber by Design podcast with Lydia as the other half. And they are both amazing and talented designers who write really beautiful patterns and dye amazing variegated yarns. So check her out. I also wanted to thank Jen Knitting Around. Jen has a blog called Knitting Around. And so during Christmas time, you remember like the Your Wish is Granted hashtag thing that was going around Instagram? Everybody was doing it, basically saying you would post essentially what you would wish for, and then if people had that item in their stash, like a yarn bowl or a certain kind of skein of yarn or things like that, if somebody had that, they would then grant your wish and send that to you. I didn't really want anything. I have enough yarn to keep me busy for a really, really long time, but I had a bunch of hand-spun laying around that I wanted to find a good home. That I liked the hand-spun, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to make anything out of it that was my taste. So I had 2 skeins of it, and I posted on Instagram. I have a skein of hand-spun. If anybody would like it, let me know, and I would like to grant your wish. And so Jen from Knitting Around was super kind and was like, I would love to knit some of your handspun. So I sent her a skein of my handspun. It was some Daybreak Dye Works merino silk. It was like whites and grays and blues and greens, and I sent that to her. It was a lace weight, and she was really excited about it. I checked with her to make sure that that's what she would want, and she loved it. So she sent me a package that was all about Cleveland. She sent me a bunch of scraps of yarn that are from indie dyers from her area, and chocolate and soap and all kinds of like a cute little note. And it was very, it was all about Cleveland, and I loved it. So thank you, Jen. I wanted to make sure and tell you thank you for that as well. So, now on to the events. The events that we have coming up. The Knit Nosh event I did not go to, but I heard it was a huge success. So if you got to go to Knit Nosh, good for you. I'm so happy for you. I got to meet Becky from the Knit Actually podcast last weekend, and I got to meet Sarah from the blog The Knitting Type, who was also at Knit Nosh, and she met with our friend Shayna, who is Shayna Lines on Instagram, and we met at the Loopy U, and we went shopping and had coffee, and it was awesome. I just have to say that the more I get to know knitters in real life, the better. It's amazing to have people that you can sit with and have coffee and ask about what they're knitting, and oh, I dyed this myself, or oh yeah, this was lemonade shop yarn and I got it during the yarn crawl. And like sitting with people that get that is huge, and it's an instant friendship maker. I feel like Becky is super sweet. Sarah is super sweet. She is thinking about starting a video podcast, and so you should head over to her blog, which is called The Knitting Type. I will put the link in the show notes, and go send her some love and tell her you want her to start a podcast, because I totally do. I think she's adorable. So we had a really great time, and Becky said that the Knit Nosh event went really, really well. The event that's coming up is super soon. Oh my gosh, is Stitches West. And this is February 17th through the 21st at the Santa Clara Convention Center in Santa Clara, California. I will be there every day. So we're going to be there for almost all of the events. It's going to be awesome. I'm not taking any classes, but I am heading to the podcaster meetup. If you see me, say hi. I'm going to be wearing this sweater for one of the days. I'll be wearing my Katniss cowl for one of the days. I'll try to post pictures on Instagram so you know what I look like. And I'm going to have my super awesome lime green bag from Danny from One Twisted Tree, so you can pick me out of a crowd. And it's going to be an absolute blast. The podcaster meetup is Saturday afternoon, I believe. I still need to look that up, but I'm going to be there. Like, just trust me, I'll be there. You can find that in the Ravelry group under Stitches West, and it's going to be an absolute blast. I'm going to be there with Jasmine and Gigi from the Knitmores, and Boston Jen from the Downseller Studio podcast, and Joanna from Slate Falls Press. Joanna will be in the Woolly Wonka's Fibers booth for most of the time because she'll be selling books. She'll have her new book, Henry's Hat, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. So you'll be able to find her there, and then the rest of us will be wandering around. So come and say hi. I'm a total hugger. You can hug me. I don't care. It doesn't bother me at all. I love it. If you don't want me to hug you, though, you can say that, and that's okay, too, because I'm just like, hi, hug, and sometimes that can freak people out. So, boundaries are good. So, so feel free to come up and say hi anytime, even if we're talking to somebody or even if, anything. I always tell my daughter, like, she's 4. If she needs to come up and tell me something and I'm in the middle of talking to somebody, I tell her to come up and put her hand on my arm. And that's her signal to me that I need to tell you something. And I finish up what I'm saying real quick, and then I respond to her as soon as I can. So that doesn't bother me. Keep it friendly. Keep it on the arm, not other places. So that's Stitches West. Interweave Yarn Fest is coming up as well, which is March 31st through April 3rd at the Embassy Suites Hotel in Loveland, Colorado. This is my stomping grounds. I'm super excited for this. Danny from the Prairie Girls is going to come and visit me. Yay! And my birthday is the day after Yarn Fest. So I thought we would have a little get together. If you would like to join us after the market closes, I believe it closes at 6 on Saturday. There's a Qdoba across the street. Come join us for dinner because Qdoba is my favorite food in the whole world, and I know Danny loves it too. We're just going to hang out at Qdoba and knit and eat some really good food. It should be a really good time. So there's that. After that, Zombie Knit Apocalypse is coming up June 1st through 5th in Rochester, Minnesota. The Estes Park Wool Market is in June. I will not be attending this year. So yeah, that's all the events that are coming up. Also, Rhinebeck is coming up in October. One more event I wanted to tell you about is the Loopy Spring Fling. Loopy U Spring Fling. I will not be attending it, but I wanted to let you know that there are some really awesome teachers that are going to be there, including Joanna Johnson, who's one of my favorite people in the whole world. And then Franklin Habit's going to be there, and he's going to come do his talk. I believe it's the 4 Women, 4 Shawls talk. And they usually have the talk the Wednesday before. So the Loopy U Spring Fling... Oh my gosh, I'm a terrible person because I don't know if it's the 23rd or the 30th. Again, I'll put everything in the show notes, but I know that Franklin's going to do the talk this year. And then Stephanie Pro McPhee, the Yarn Harlot, is going to be there teaching as well. So there are some really awesome teachers that are going to be there, and it's going to be an awesome event. If you have not signed up, it's too late to sign up for the actual Spring Fling for the retreat, but you can come to Franklin's talk, and I know that that's okay at the Loopy U. So... And you can always just come and say hi at the Loopy U anyway, because it's a great place to be. So that is it for the events. I have been talking for a long time, so we might as well move on to the giveaway and then some photography. Okay, so we have a giveaway to do. This book is Free Spirit Knits by Ann Podlesack, who is Anne of Woolly Wonka Fibers, who is one of the most amazing, smart businesswomen, designers, dyers, everything that she just blows my mind. And I also wanted to mention too, I forgot to mention this earlier, she has a podcast now, and you should totally check it out. It's called the Woolly Wonka Fibers Podcast, and it is available on iTunes and through Podbean. And it's a video podcast, and she talks about the things that she's putting up in the shop. She's doing these really cool self-striping colorways once a month, and those are really beautiful, and designs that she has been releasing and things, and then she talks about stuff on her needles. She's an amazing, amazing fiber artist. Like, she just blows my mind with some of the stuff that she makes. So check her out at the Woolly Wonka Fibers podcast. And she is also running the Hand-spun knit along, which is the knit along that I specifically wanted to make sure and make my January socks for. This actually knit along is, I thought it was just going to be through January, and it's actually through the whole year. And so anytime you knit with some hand-spun, whether it's yours or somebody else's, you can enter into the Hand-spun knit along. And it's a really fun knit along that she's been running on there. She has come up with a ton of patterns, some her own and some a ton from other people, that are really great for hand-spun, for showing off your stitches and your stitch definition and the construction of your yarn and things. And so I really appreciate that about her, and I think it's a blast. So I knit the socks for that, and I knit my other mittens for that as well. So be sure to check her out if you have not already. So the book Free Spirit Knits, this is an amazing book. It has 20 different patterns in it, and everybody agreed with me in the Ravelry board. This book is stunning. I know a couple of you went ahead and bought it, and I think that's awesome. I will definitely be knitting out of this book for sure, because there's amazing things in here. But we're going to give this copy away. Thank you, Interweave Knits, for gifting us a copy to give away. And out of 38 entries, I chose a random number generator using the numbers 2 through 38, and the number 38 is the winner. So Patricia O, you are the winner of Free Spirit Knits. I will wait a few days to see if you get to hear your name on the podcast. If you do, go ahead and contact me on Ravelry, and I will get this out to you. I do have another book recommendation for you. I've decided to stop calling them reviews, because reviews are everything gets sent to you and you say whether it's good or bad or things like that. I would rather find awesome things and then tell you about them and recommend them. So that's what I'm personally going to do. But I do have a new book recommendation for you. And I might be a little bit biased because this one is written by one of my best friends in the whole world. But it's still awesome, and I have to show it to you. So this book is called Henry's Hat. There's some glare on there. I'm sorry. This is written and illustrated by Eric and Joanna Johnson. And this is their 4th book that they have come out with. If you have not heard of their stuff, they wrote the books Phoebe's Sweater, Phoebe's Birthday, and Freddie's Blanket. And then Joanna also did the knitting book Green Gables Knits, which you can see all of those on the back of the book. But this is a really adorable children's book with knitting patterns in the back. And what I love is that Joanna came up with the story, and then Eric kind of wrote a lot of the story, like the actual wording, but they came up with the storyline together, and then Eric illustrated it. And Eric is an amazing, amazing illustrator. He draws the most adorable creatures of all kinds that you could possibly imagine, and he has a craftsy class on how he illustrates all these. So it's really cool. But this book has been... It's funny because I met Joanna right after Phoebe's Birthday came out, and I didn't get to watch them make a book up until this point. And so it's been really fun to watch them come up with the story and the knitting patterns and encourage each other, and be able to be there to encourage them throughout writing this book. And it's amazing. So the general idea of the story is basically that there's this character named Henry who's this cute little chipmunk on the front, and he has his favorite hat. It's his imagination hat, and he wears it everywhere, and he loses it through no fault of his own. And he decides to go find it, and he finds all these clues of where it might be. And I'm not going to tell you what happens at the end of the story because it's super cute. But it's adorable, and the illustrations are just amazing. Let me show you just a few of these. So there's so much detail, and there's a lot hidden. My kids like to find all the hidden things. So like on this page, you can see the ant. There's an ant and a grasshopper. The story of the ant and the grasshopper getting ready for winter is reflected in this whole story. Some of these illustrations, I'm going to show you some of them that they've actually shown pictures of because I don't want to give it all away. But look at this. There's a canning room picture, like a root cellar, and it shows all the pictures of all the food that they've canned and look, the little ants are putting away their stores for the winter. It's so cute. And the chipmunk has his little cheeks all full of food. And oh my gosh, there's just so much detail that was, I mean, it's just gorgeous. And I love looking at the picture. I have to show you this. There is a flying squirrel. Look how cute he is. It's a flying squirrel, and his name is Charlie. He's so cute. Oh my gosh. It's a beautiful story. It's about restoration and thoughtfulness, and it's so cute because it's not Henry's fault that he lost his hat at all, but he worked so hard to find it. And I feel like so much of our culture today is, I lost it, I'll just buy another one. I'll just knit another one. It's not a big deal. And this is his favorite hat. And even though he didn't mean to lose it, he goes looking for it for a long time. And that just made me so happy because I felt like it's a big character thing for him to look that hard for his hat. So you have to look at this. This is, if you are not watching the video, you need to go watch the video because this is beautiful. There's a table setting of a big Thanksgiving dinner, and I seriously spent a half an hour looking at this page, looking at all the things hidden. There's like a beaver that's sleeping, and like the little ants are having their dinner here, and like all these little teeny tiny details. And I've talked to Eric pretty extensively about it, and he's like, I just like to hide stuff for the kids. And there's so much detail in the story, like the foods that they eat. And Eric and Joanna are from the New Jersey area, and so this to me makes me feel like I'm entering what kind of creatures that they saw when they lived there, and what kind of food that maybe those creatures would eat, or maybe that they ate. I don't know. I would like to talk to her more about that. But he draws animals as realistic looking as possible. Sometimes when characters like moles are drawn as cartoons, they don't draw the little things on their face, and this one totally has it. It's so cute. But they also make them personified, and everything is to scale. It's just an interesting take on how he draws these woodland creatures, and it's just adorable. So here's the football scene. Maybe I'll ask Joanna if I can make that like the thumbnail for this episode, because it's Super Bowl Sunday. And all these pictures that I've shown you, they've been posting on their Instagram and stuff too. But it's just a beautiful book. And then at the end of the book are knitting patterns. So you can make the patterns that the characters wear in the book. You can make Henry's hat, of course. That's why it's called Henry's hat. Cover the pattern part. Look how cute. So you can make Henry's hat. You can make his sweater, which is just adorable. It's a striped raglan sweater with an initial on the front of it, and it's a little bit different construction than a normal raglan sweater, and I think it makes for a really interesting, it looks kind of like a baseball tee because the sleeves are knit in a different color, and I think it's really cool. It's a little bit different than the sweaters that are out there right now, and that's what I love about knitting Joanna's patterns. I've knit several of them now, and her stuff is always different enough that you can tell that there's not a lot of other patterns like that specific thing that are out there, but they're never terribly difficult. Her instructions are really clear and easy to understand, and I've never had a hard time knitting one of her patterns. Then you can knit, she always includes a toy in her books, a toy pattern, and so she included on this one the Henry Chipmunk, and you can knit his sweater and his pants, and he's so cute. Oh my gosh. I knit the sweater, and I don't have it with me because my daughter took it for her 18-inch doll, because their clothes all fit 18-inch dolls really well. But I knit the sweater. It was super cute, and I knit it in an afternoon. It was really easy and adorable, and I really want to knit the chipmunk now because I have the yarn for it and everything. And look at his little tush. Sorry, I'm trying not to show. Look at the chipmunk. Isn't he cute? He has a cute little tail and everything. So it's a really, really sweet book. So the patterns in this book are the hat, the big sweater, the little sweater, the toy, and the big sweater, the little sweater, and the pants for the toy. So there's quite a few of the patterns in here, and then it's just a really sweet book. So if you have not checked out Joanna's books for kids, Joanna and Eric's children's books, they're beautiful. My kids love the Phoebe books and the Freddie's blanket book. We read those all the time. I knit Freddie's blanket for my son, and it's his favorite blanket. He has to go to bed with it every night, and he looks at Mommy and he goes, Mommy made this for me. So I just wanted to show that to you. So like I said, that's Henry's Hat by Eric and Joanna Johnson. You can find that in their Etsy shop under Slate Falls Press, or you can find it on Amazon, or you can buy it. I think those are the two most common places. You can also, there are a lot of local yarn stores that carry it, so check with your local yarn store if they don't have it. I know they can order it from her. It's really easy to order. So yeah, that's Henry's Hat. And Joanna's going to be, like I said, at Stitches West with us. She'll be selling this book along with all of her other books and doing book signings, and have samples of everything at Stitches West in the Woolly Wonka Fibers booth. So I hope to do a video podcast with her sometime, but our schedules have just not meshed at all. So I think it's going to be great. So check her out for sure. I guess we're going to move on to photography now. So for photography talk today, I wanted to talk about headshots because I recently did this really cool thing. So I am a part of a group of women in Northern Colorado that are all professional photographers. And we have decided that instead of treating each other like competition and being rude to each other, like tends to happen in a lot of industries, and I understand why, we're not going to do that. And so we have made a group, and there are a lot of us in this area. And it's great because our group is on Facebook, and then every now and then we get together and we critique each other's work. Or one time we did an in-person sales workshop. And one time we hired a bunch of models to be models for our senior portrait portfolios. And so we've decided that high waters raise all boats. And if we work together, that we could have a really great group of women that support each other and encourage each other and really enhance the photography industry in our area. So that has been an awesome group to be a part of. We recently decided that we all needed headshots for our websites. And so there were 5 of us. There's a lot of us in the group, and obviously not all of us can make it to each event. But there were 5 of us one day who said we all need headshots, and we met at the studio of one of the photographers. She has a really gorgeous studio in my area, and she opened up our studio to us, and we hired a makeup artist to come and do makeup. I should say that's part of what my tip is today. Everybody else hired the makeup artist. I didn't hire the makeup artist because it was kind of expensive, and I was like, I don't want to spend that much money on makeup when I'm going to go home and do laundry. And I really wish I had hired her. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But we hired a makeup artist to come and do makeup, and then we all shot each other's headshots for our websites. And it was great because what we did was each person photographed everybody else, and then we all went into a Dropbox and uploaded both the raw files, like the hardcore files from the camera, and we uploaded, if we got a chance to edit them, then we would upload the edited versions as well. And it was cool because all of us agreed we could use those headshots in our own portfolio and use the headshots of ourselves on our website, on our business cards, marketing, anything like that. And so if you're watching the video podcast, there's actually a headshot of me in the very beginning, and my friend Kate was the one who shot that one as well. And then my friend Sarah shot another one that I just adore. So that was really exciting and cool. It's really interesting being a photographer and then standing in front of the camera and doing, like, trying to remember to do all the things that we tell our clients to do, you know, chin out and down and roll your shoulders and give me some attitude and do a half smile, do a full smile. Like it's each of us, and we all said it. We each got in front of the camera and we went, huh, like, we just kind of froze. We're like, tell me what to do, tell me what to do, tell me what to do. And so it was really a great experience to get to know that even more, because when I did my family session back in the fall with my friend Sarah, again, the same Sarah who did our family session, who is Sarah Goff Photography, by the way. If you're interested in a wedding photographer in the Northern Colorado area, she's your girl. She's amazing. But when I did that one, we just played with our family, and I held my kids, and we just smiled the way that we were supposed to. And there wasn't a whole lot of posing or anything like that in that session, because it was just be yourselves with your kids, and okay. But this was, we wanted really specific poses and really specific techniques, and it was nice because we got to play around with some lighting and reflectors and backlighting and outside and inside and things like that. And so it was awesome to have another professional photographer tell me, okay, now put your chin out. Okay, now put your shoulder a little bit off kilter, or things like that. And some of them I feel like are some of the best pictures that I've ever had taken of myself ever. And I really, really love them. And I felt very confident. There's something about having a photographer guiding you that makes you feel really confident, and it makes for an awesome experience. And I was really happy. I'm not going to lie. Some of them that were the other photographers' favorites of me are not my favorites. And I had to learn that in my own portrait experience, that there would be some photos that I would take of somebody that I would just love. And I'm like, oh my gosh, looks just like you, and you look amazing. And they're just like, this looks nothing like what I had in my head. And there were a few of them that were like that. Truthfully, I have gained about 15 pounds since I had my thyroid taken out. So my face is a lot more full than I'm used to it. That's just because I don't have a thyroid anymore. My body isn't crazy and over processing everything, but I'm not sick. So I'm actually healthier, but I'm a little bit heavier than I used to be. And so that's been an interesting journey for me to accept that and to be okay with that, and maybe fix it, maybe not. I haven't quite decided yet. But that's where we are. And so I looked a lot different in those photos because I have had such a dramatic change since I had my thyroid taken out. That it was, I'm not gonna lie, it was hard for me to see some of the photos and be like, oh, that doesn't look anything like me. But then she would do some poses that I was like, yep, that looks like me. That is exactly what I think I look like. Everybody has a side of their face that they like better. I don't know if you know this. I learned this while doing headshots for another company. And I turned in what I thought were gorgeous headshots of one particular girl, and she was like, I don't like that side of my face at all. And I realized that everybody has a side of their face that they like better. So for me, the side of my face that I like better is my left. And I guess it's the right on the screen. I'm not really sure. But I like this side of my face better than this side. Although right now, I don't know. I know in general I do. This looks better to me than this. But it's always like if you part your hair, it's almost always the side that your part is on. So when I part my hair, I part it on my left side, and then it and then it falls over. And so that's the side of my face that I like better. And so whenever I do headshots now, or even just photos of women in general, I ask them, which side of your face do you like better? And everybody has an answer. It's crazy. It's one of those things that until you think about it, you don't really notice it. And then you see a photo of yourself from the other side and you're like, oh, that's not what I picture myself looking like. So, it's just interesting. What I wanted to give a tip for you guys when having your photos taken is in regard to the makeup artist. I don't think that you should hire a makeup artist necessarily every single time you go get pictures taken. I think that's a lot of money to invest. It definitely has a place, and I wish that I had done it for this particular photo shoot. If I did it again, I would invest in it, but I'm okay that I didn't at the same time. There are some tips though for making your makeup help you look your very best if you're getting a professional portrait session done. And it's funny to me that I'm talking about this because I'm not wearing a stitch of makeup right now and I'm doing a video podcast. I recently did a photo shoot for a Mary Kay consultant, and her name is Ashley. And I was amazed because when I do portraits of women, I will do some Photoshop touch up on faces. Not a lot because I want it to. So when I do a portrait session, a headshot session or a portrait session or things like that, I don't, how do I put this? I do some touch up on the face because I feel like I want people to see themselves in their photos the way that they see themselves in their mind. And I think that that's important. And I also want to present a photo as the best version of somebody as they are. And so I don't take out heavy wrinkles or heavy bags under the eyes or things like that, but I do smooth out the skin, and I do get rid of mild acne, things like that. Things that aren't a part of how that person would be 5 years from now necessarily. But I do some touch up. When I did Ashley's headshots just last week, I didn't have to do any touch up on her face at all, which really amazed me. And it's because she has taken really good care of her skin for a long time. Some using Mary Kay and some of it not, but she has really beautiful skin. And then she also did a really good job with her makeup. And so I had to do zero work on touching up her skin at all. And I purposely didn't do any work on her skin because I figured she's a Mary Kay consultant. It's a good thing to show how exactly like what she looks using their product. So that was kind of cool. But when we hired the makeup artist, she came in, she did airbrush makeup, and then including like eyeshadow and eyebrows and eyeliner and like lipstick and blush and like the whole thing. It was really cool. I don't wear makeup personally, like 95% of the time. I'll wear it for things like a photo shoot or like job interviews or things like that, but I don't normally wear makeup. So I didn't feel comfortable, and I didn't feel like it would look like me if I had a bunch of makeup put on my face for the photo shoot. What she did, though, was she really enhanced these women's eyes, which I thought was really cool. And I did a lot of research after that to find out what is a good guideline for doing your makeup when you want really nice photos of yourself taken. And the biggest thing I could find is to really, really, really enhance your eyes. And she added fake eyelashes to everybody. And sometimes those can go terribly wrong. So I don't recommend like buying them from the Dollar Tree, but she had some really good quality eyelashes, and she put them on the girls. And then she had some nice mascara and eyeliner and things like that. And nobody looked ridiculous. Everybody looked really classy, and it enhanced their looks. It didn't change the way that any of the women looked. Like, it added to it, if that makes sense. When I do my own makeup for photo shoots and things like that, I always darken my eyebrows a little bit, because I notice that my eyebrows get really light in photos for some reason. Sometimes it looks like I just don't have any eyebrows at all. So I always darken my eyebrows just a shade. I do put on eyeliner all the way around. I do put on some mascara and some eyeshadow. My eyes are where I always focus really hardcore for all those pictures. And it's good to do that because a good photographer will make sure that they're focusing on your eye. When I photograph a person, I often will use my 50 millimeter lens, set in an aperture of 1.8 or 2.2, depending on the mood that I'm in and how much light is in the room. That's the lowest aperture that I can shoot. And so what that means, if you're new to the podcast or new to photography, basically that means that the hole that the light is coming into the camera is really big. And that means that very little can be focused on in the actual photo. And so what I do is I put it on a really low aperture, and then I make sure the focus is directly on the person's eye, because that's where you're going to notice it. And then if everything else, if the nose is a little bit soft, usually the eyes and the lips are on the same plane, or in a close enough plane. If it's like a straight on or, off to the side a little bit, the eyes and the lips are in the same plane. So the lips will be in focus if the eyes are in focus. If the ears are soft and the nose and the hairline and things like that are a little bit soft, it's okay. And it makes the photo look really soft and beautiful. And I like the effect that gives. And so I really encourage people to focus on their eyes when applying makeup for a photo shoot. So that was my tip for you for today. A little bit of mascara never hurts anybody, unless you're or unless you have allergies. And then I suppose you would have to buy more expensive stuff, but that's okay too. So that's my tip for today. If you are getting your photos done, really, really focus on your eyes. The rest of it is good, but a good photographer that has some general knowledge of of Photoshop or of Lightroom or things like that can clean up. Like, the better the makeup is, the less work I have to do, but I know how to overcome things like shiny spots or a little bit of acne or a little bit of redness or things like that. And I try hard to just make people look like the best version of themselves. That's the most important part to me. So I hope that was helpful for you. And I'll post some of the headshots that she took at the end of the episode as well. And my son just came in and sat down and read a bunch of Henry's Hat with me. So we just looked at the pictures because we read the books lots of times. So he wanted to talk about the pictures. So stay tuned for an audio clip of that. And I hope you have a beautiful and wonderful day. Like I said, come see me at Stitches West. And I will talk to you after that. Bye. What book is this? Henry's Hat. Do you like this book? Yeah. We're not going to read it right now. Do you like it? Who's in that picture? Who's this right here? Henry Hat. How about who is this? Who's that?
Me here.
You. What's his name?
What's his name?
What's his name?
My name's Charlie.
Your name is Charlie. Is that Charlie the flying squirrel?
No.
Is he a squirrel? Yes.
No.
Are you a squirrel?
No.
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 Where's Henry's hat? Where did it go? Where did his hat go?
There.
What happened to it?
What happened?
Did he lose it? He lost his hat. Where did it go?
Where it go? In water.
In the water. What's he got to do now? Oh, hang on.
He found her favorite hat.
He found his favorite hat?
Where are those?
That's a crawdad.
That a crawdad.
Mm-hmm.
There's mole.
There's a mole. Do you like that mole?
I have hands.
Uh-huh. What are these guys doing? What are they getting?
What are they doing? Seeds.
Seeds. Where are they putting them?
And putting their Henry hat.
Henry's hat. Yee. Who's that?
He dumped that.
Mm-hmm.
Dirt and clean. Oh no, and furnace. Oh.
Is that the grasshopper?
No. There are bugs. Where are bugs? Keep building their pet hat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, ladybug hiding.
Are they hiding?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
What did the other one?
Are they eating?
Yeah.
What are they eating?
They are eating chocolate cake.
Chocolate cake? Oh.